This is Swiss and Chips, your British guide to Switzerland.
Hello and welcome to Swiss and Chips. My name is Simon.
And I'm Joe.
And today we've got a really exciting episode ready for you. It's about the Swiss Knigge. But before we start, if you're here for the first time, at Swiss and Chips, we talk every few weeks about the highs and lows of moving and living in Switzerland. We try to take away your fears and help you a little bit to settle in. I'm Swiss, born in Switzerland, and you are?
I am Swiss and British. I'm a new Swiss. Yay. And I moved here about 14 years ago.
Yeah, and together we live as a couple with our tri-national daughter in the German part of Switzerland. But now let's jump in and give you some preview of what's on the menu today.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to start off with some listener messages that we've received. Then we'll be going into our Swiss Bytes. We'll be talking about
You said Swiss Bytes without making the noise, so that's quite the...
I'll be doing that later.
Okay.
Exactly. We'll be talking about our main topic of the podcast today. That's all about the Swiss etiquette system. And we'll be explaining what this name means that you referenced earlier, the Swiss Knigge. Don't be afraid. We'll be talking about learning Swiss German, which we do in every episode. We've got a poll at the end, and very special today in this episode, we have got a giveaway. Oh my goodness.
Are we only going to tell them at the end, or shall we tell
them at the end.
No, we tell them now.
No, we'll tell them when we get into the main vibe of the podcast, what we're giving away.
Yes. Right. Listener feedback. There is one message we wanted to point out, and which is from Kathy again. Mm-hmm. She wrote to us already last time, and only a small thing I wanted to mention because she wrote about the herbschtelet. We talked about that last time, I think, and we couldn't find really a word in English. It's just doesn't exist.
Little chocolate stick would be a literal translation for herbschtelet.
Yeah,
but we don't have like a particular thing.
She just wrote, the poor Swiss herbschtelet just does not exist in English. Sad.
That's life, huh?
But on that sad note, if you want to give us some feedback or have a question, please let us know. There is also a link in the show notes where you can send us directly a message, or you can send us also a message via email at hello@swissandchips.com, or is it hi@swissandchips.com?
It's hello.
It's hello.
Exactly.
hello@swissandchips.com, or you go to our website, swissandchips.com. There you find some contact possibilities.
Exactly.
Swiss Bytes. There you go. One small thing I saw, an article about the Swiss SBB clock. It turns 80.
And just to say, the SBB is the Swiss...
Why do you explain that? Everyone in the world knows what the SBB is. Okay. What a shame. I just thought it's interesting because it's such a Swiss icon. And if you live in Switzerland and you have some relatives somewhere abroad, go and buy a Swiss SBB clock or watch.
If you can afford it.
If you can afford it.
They're not mega cheap. If you're earning Swiss money, then maybe.
Okay. I don't have one and never bought one, so I wouldn't know.
Look it up.
But it's really a traditional
They're
thing.
mega iconic in terms of design. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's true. And in the article, it's in German though, but it's quite interesting because it's written about, the specifics of the clock and what makes it iconic. For example, that it stands still for 2 seconds. The second
hand?
The second hand. Yes. Is that called the second hand?
Sure is.
Wow, that's weird.
We crazy. That's all I can say.
Is it not? That just sounds wrong, the second hand. All right, the second hand stands still for 2 seconds. And there was this problem because they said, if it stands still, but the train already leaves, it's weird.
Totally weird. What's that all about?
So they had to make a specific system how this all works, that all the second hands and the primary hand, or what's the other thing called? The minute hand? No?
The thing is, now that you're asking about it, it starts to sound weird, but it's not weird.
So the minute hand and the second hand.
I've never
And the hour
thought about
hand.
it so much.
Is it an hour hand?
I don't know. I know it's the second hand, but now that you're asking so much, it starts to sound weird.
Right, all the hands start at the same time again. It's just quite funny.
Let's just
think
say
it's interesting.
they're synchronized.
Exactly. That's a good word.
Thank you.
But now let's move on to the topic of the day because there's so much to talk about.
Oh my goodness, yes there is.
Do you want to start?
No, you better, because you need to say this word.
Okay, the Swiss Knigge.
Right, what is that?
The Knigge, everyone knows. Everyone in the German-speaking part, from Germany to Austria I'm not sure, but from Germany to Switzerland. And it's very, very well known. Not so much the book.
It's a book.
It's a book, sorry. Yeah, I assume everyone knows it.
You can assume that we know nothing of this strangely titled book.
Okay.
Worryingly titled book. It sounds scarily close to a word that we wouldn't say in English.
Right. It's a book that is insanely old and has been written about how people can live together, basically. Mm-hmm. But now it's more known as an etiquette, you know.
It's an etiquette guide.
And it's, but it became... You know, then it was more like how to live together, but today it's more an etiquette guide when someone says, how you behave. Is this really after Knigge?
Ah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's not so much known the content, but more the saying or as a reference of how to behave.
Uh-huh. And Knigge, is that a person's name or what is this word?
Yeah, it was the person's name.
Ah, back in the day, I see.
Back in the day, yeah.
Gotcha.
And it gets always adapted, and there are various Knigges out there nowadays. Mm-hmm. So many different books. For example, the Knigge at work, the Knigge at school, the Knigge in life, and so on. And there are different levels of Knigges. So you maybe, if you are the King of England, you might have to have a higher level of Knigge than if you are just us.
Right, and it's spelled Knigge.
Exactly, yeah, that's true. So...
Good. And so what we've been looking at is like the basic version.
So, yes,
we're basic people.
Well, yes and no. The basic version is from... shame I didn't look it up, but it's probably 100 to 200 years old.
Oh yeah, I don't mean the original. I mean, the standard one nowadays.
A version. And there's not a standard one. So it's not at school you read the Knigge.
I've made a faux pas.
Yeah, it's not like at school you read the one Knigge and it's like the dictionary or something.
Uh-huh.
So there are just many, many different versions and anyone can write a Knigge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So,
I see. So there's no standardized...
No.
I didn't get that. I thought it was like there is a central Knigge and they made, different versions for different situations.
No, there is the central Knigge written from that guy. Next time I'll tell everyone what year that was.
Yeah.
I would guess maybe 1850, but I've got no idea. Probably I'm quite wrong.
Okay.
But it's old. I don't know it.
In the olden days.
It doesn't fit, obviously, to today.
Of course not.
And it's more a reference, that this is how we want to live together. And based on this, many different versions have been written over the years. And
I see.
While I was looking it up, I saw also in Germany there is a Verband, what's it called?
Association.
An association, a Knigge association.
Yeah.
And they're not the official, not like the dictionary. Right. They're just like we want to...
They care about etiquette and manners.
Exactly, that's what it is.
Right.
So I bought one Knigge that I thought is probably quite a good one and appropriate one for today. Mm-hmm. But it's from the Beobachter. It's a Swiss publisher.
Yep.
And it's called Der Schweizer Knigge.
Sounds official.
It could be German Knigge, der Schweizer Knigge, the Swiss Knigge for school, the Swiss Knigge for work, the Swiss Knigge for wherever or whatever. So this one is kind of like a general, I thought it sounds like kind of a general
guide.
Yeah, and it says, was gilt heute? So what's
valid today?
What's valid today, yeah. And it's quite interesting because it's also slightly funny written, and then it has different sections for different
scenarios.
Yeah, or situations, yeah.
Indeed. He's flicking through the pages now.
Yes, that's what I'm doing. So at the beginning, it's interesting. It's a little bit about typical Switzerland. Switzerland just wants to be different.
That's right.
A country of Jein sagen. Does that word exist in English?
No,
Jein.
No, it doesn't.
We are a country of Jein sayers. Jein means yes and no in one word.
Yeah.
And it means basically we are made for compromise. One chapter is Bitte keinen Streit. Please don't argue. Live and let live. Another chapter. But then there are different sections. So first the foundation, then at home or outside. Then one is at table manners. For example, how to sit at the table. So die Haltung, what's that called? The posture. Then vom Umgang mit Brot. How to deal with bread. You know, do you bite it off? Do you break it off? Can you dip it in the soup? Or can you dip it? Can you
wipe it around your plate?
Yeah, these kind of things. Exactly these kind of things. When can you eat with fingers? When not? How to eat a fish? And when to smile, how to eat with chopsticks, all these kind of things, how to deal with wine if you don't want to drink wine, for example. But then there are interesting examples, I thought, also for expats, for example, if there is Antwort wird gebeten is one chapter. Please reply for an invitation. What's the short for in English?
RSVP.
Yeah, exactly. That's Antwort wird gebeten. We ask for a reply. RSVP, yeah. One chapter is RSVP. So if you get an invite, what time should you arrive? What present should you bring?
Right. This is much discussed, yeah.
Is flowers okay? Is wine okay?
And when someone says, don't bring something, do take something anyway.
That's exactly written in the book.
Oh boy, give me this book.
Yeah, it's really good. And then you have letters, emails, SMS, social networks. So really a lot. And also how to receive guests at home.
What does it say about slippers? When to give people giant slippers to wear over their shoes? I'd like to read that section. This was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I quite like that.
You
said it's not allowed, but I would like that. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, I first encountered this actually at that really old and magnificent library in St. Gallen, actually. There are these extra large felt slippers that you put on over the top of your shoes. It's so funny because you can hardly walk in them properly. And then I found out you can buy them in all sorts of shops, and some people even have them in their own homes. So you don't have to take off your shoes when you go to their house. Yep. You can just wear these gigantic slippers, which are really funny. Yep. And I actually quite like them. I would like to have them here just for the fun of it. But you're not such a fan.
Right, they're just stupid.
It would be kind of impractical, but they're funny. And you can buy them with a Swiss flag on them. Every home should have them.
Disagree.
We don't really need.
So one chapter is dress codes. For example, dress codes at an interview, which can be helpful, I think.
Indeed.
And there it says, do for her or no go for her.
Oh, why for her?
Do and don't. So do for her.
Do's for her and don'ts for her. But why is it just for her?
Do. It's written do für sie. No go für sie. So it's just written like that. What can I say?
Is it different rules for men and women?
No, it's do for him and it's do for him and no go for him.
Oh, in terms of dress codes?
Yes.
Okay.
So no go for him. Dark, very dark or colorful shirts.
Wow, now we're going to get into disputes, aren't we?
A Fliege im Geschäftsalltag. That's a fly How is this called?
A bow tie.
Bow tie, yeah.
This funny
It's
little
called
short one.
fly in German.
That's a no-go for every day.
For everyday Geschäftsalltag.
Depends if you want to be quirky and British or not, doesn't it?
As you can see there, then you have different levels. It also says, here is what is written is just good manners. Then you have business class manners, and then you have royal class manners.
Blimey.
So how to behave with drinking a glass of water when there is a lemon inside.
Is that in the royal class manners?
Yeah.
Tell us what to do. You just drink it, don't you? Does it say that you shouldn't take it out and slurp it loudly? Because I imagine that's common sense in polite company. But then I am from Britain.
Let's move back. Move back to the things we want to talk about.
Yes, please.
But one important thing I want to say, I really looked for a long time, because when I read it, I skim read it to be fair, because
that's okay. It's quite dense.
Yes and no. It's
I don't mean difficult. I just mean it's a thick book.
No, yes,
Thickish.
but it's with some drawings and so on. It's quite easy and quickly.
Yeah, there's a picture.
Fast to read, but I don't really need to know.
Your
all
manners
of
are
it.
top notch.
Exactly, yeah. And when I looked for it, I wanted to find an English version, but I couldn't find one.
Shame.
Yeah, because I thought most of these things, I think manners most of them you learn at home. And if you didn't, you probably won't buy that book to increase your manners. True. I thought it would be really helpful to be translated. But maybe it is somewhere. I couldn't find it
also,
anyway.
It's not just about manners, but, it's cultural etiquette.
Absolutely.
That people who move to a newer country are often asking questions about, because they would like to be polite and not offend people by accident. That's why we have so many questions about when to shake
extremely
hands,
hard.
when to show up, and when people say, no need to bring a present to the apéro. And then you're like, are you sure? And they, yes, of course. And, just come roughly at this time. So then you come half an hour late, empty-handed, and everyone else is already there, and they all brought a gift. And you're like, oh. So
yes,
now
because that's a good example, because I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know any Swiss person who grew up here who would have difficulties in that situation, because you got a feeling of when to come and what to take.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's a shame it's not translated. But I also bought the electronic version of it, the ebook.
Oh, yeah.
And that obviously could be translated. That's also, I took a few quotes out that I thought could be interesting, and I auto-translated them with ChatGPT, so feel free to read them. And if there are any mistakes, it's not straight out of the book.
This is me now.
Yes,
right.
Quote 1.
Oh my
Go.
goodness. Okay. The whole thing I should read.
Yes. Especially in times.
Right. Okay. So, especially in times of the pluralisation of lifestyles, there is a need to know how things should actually be done correctly, because manners provide security in how to positively shape encounters between people. They simplify interactions and prevent misunderstandings.
I took this quote out exactly because of what you said before.
Yes.
Because I thought it's so true for expats. I think people coming here and don't want to have an awkward situation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I've had many.
Do you want to give an example?
Oh my goodness, where should I begin?
What happened recently?
So, let me just think about this, because they happen all the time. 14 years I've been in this country. Right. So here's the funny thing that happened recently. I was at an event. I won't say specifically which one it was for fear of
work event.
No, shush. I was at an event, and with people I know very well. There was one person.
People
no, shush,
from work.
Shush. There was one person there that I do know, but there was one person there that I do know, but I wasn't sure if another person that I know very well did know this person. So that added the complexity. So when
you've already lost me.
Okay, shush. I was there with some other people. A person arrived that I know very well. And this person, male, shook the other male person's hand and said hello. And I thought, okay, they don't know each other. They've never met before. That's why they're shaking hands. However, the male person then shook a female person's hand. And I know they know each other. So I thought, uh-oh, what's going on? I thought, okay, so we're shaking hands suddenly. But we never normally shake hands. We see each other all the time and we never, ever, ever shake hands because we're friends. We don't shake hands. We're in a very casual greeting, thing. We don't shake hands. I was also eating a bowl of soup, which made things difficult. And I was sitting on a sofa and I was balancing the bowl of soup on a plate and it was very wobbly. So I couldn't stand up and, take charge and do a sort of one-armed hug or something.
Handshake.
No, a one-armed hug. Because then I would have had to stand up and sort of use my whole body to do this. So I put my hand out to shake hands as well. But, and then, so obviously he also shook my hand because what should we do? And then he said, why are we shaking hands? And I said, I don't know. And then we both just laughed and I said, all right, well, let's just never do it again.
Good.
But then at the end of the night, he shook my hand and I said, we agreed we'd never do it again. But then we laughed even more.
Right.
It was funny.
Good example.
Oh, man.
But as you can see, I think that's also a good example of how it works in Switzerland. Even if it's awkward, it's quite funny.
It was really funny,
really bad, is it?
No.
Right. Next, from C to do.
Ooh, man.
Maybe you should explain
Nightmare.
What does that mean?
Well, do
from
is
formal to informal.
Yeah, do is the informal way of saying you in German, and C is the formal way of saying you in German.
Yeah, and there is always a discussion, when do you switch and how, and people are worrying that it's so complicated. So this is what I read in the Knigge.
I should read this, shall I?
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to who may first suggest the less formal do, the previously mentioned rule applies. Okay, it wasn't previously mentioned in this case. Do.
No, rank before age, before gender.
Right, there you go. Pay attention to the order. In private settings, rank may usually not matter. Here, the older person will likely suggest the do, while among peers, the woman typically does. I didn't know that. A provocative question. This is from the book, I'm not saying this. What does age mean in times of Botox and fitness trends? The Swiss etiquette would define it as a significant age difference, roughly encompassing a generation, about 15 years, understanding that this may not always be easily determined in everyday situations.
Yeah, I took this up because I just found it funny.
Well.
So, right, if you want to decide if you can say do formal or informal, just go by age before gender, but then also ranking.
Don't forget about rank.
And then depending on the situation. So I thought it's quite funny.
So basically it's just an absolute nightmare.
Greeting is the next one.
So I'm glad we clarified that. People from abroad are often somewhat surprised. Yes, I'm quoting from the book here, okay? But it's also true. Surprised and amazed at how frequently the greeting ritual is celebrated here in Switzerland. In this regard, Switzerland is a small village where the residents feel compelled to maintain friendly interactions. Feel compelled, I'd like to stress. Since this is a charming custom, the following situations are mentioned for completeness, where greeting is appropriate. In the train, bus, tram, and aeroplane, when sitting next to someone. Also on the ski lift, in the waiting room, in small local shops, and at the supermarket checkout, in the elevator, in hotels, and in clothing stores. This is funny. Where those over 30 can safely ignore overly familiar greetings from staff. It's not meant to be rude. Huh? When you meet strangers or visitors in your company, when you ask someone a question, in general, always, unless you're in a large urban area where constant greeting might seem annoying or odd. However, in the countryside, in the city forest, on hiking trails, and to the person on the town next to you at the pool, grüezi, proceed with caution, I would say, is considered good manners everywhere, unless you're outside of Zurich, I would add.
There you go. I added this because we talked about where would you greet people and not in an old episode. And we were quite correct.
Yeah, basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Funny, huh?
Next, everyday situations.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well-intentioned, bless you. Now the Swiss etiquette finds itself in a dilemma. Oh, yes, we talked about this once, didn't we? This made me laugh. Okay. So, In the book, it says, what should it recommend? What is the appropriate reaction when someone sneezes? Should it advocate for the well-meaning bless you or recommend ignoring it because it's generally improper to comment on bodily functions? It tends towards the latter view because many people feel uncomfortable being addressed about their health or bodily functions. Incidentally, the origin of this custom is that it was long believed the soul resided in the head, and people feared that sneezing might cause the soul to leave. The wishes for health were thus more expressions of sympathy.
Interesting, don't you think?
Very interesting. Yes, I also feel pricked to comment on bodily functions.
I think 90% of the time someone will say, bless you.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you sneeze like 4 times, that's a lot of commenting.
But it's also a weird thing because I remember that this was a thing that changed maybe 15 or 20 years ago when it said somewhere that the new Knigge said you don't say it anymore.
Oh, really?
And I don't know where it said or how I heard about it. I just heard about it that the new Knigge said you don't say it anymore.
It's so influential.
But it's been done for me for 20 years and it's weird not to say it. It feels very impolite.
You know what? Swiss people really feel compelled to say this. I can feel that. But the funny thing is, when you're someone who has like hay fever like me, and maybe you sneeze like 4 times in a row, I can see that they start to feel awkward. They feel compelled to say it, but they don't want to keep saying it.
That's exactly how it is. And now
So
there
awkward.
is a similar example, and you will find out which one, and you will think, yes, that one.
Damn, I've also been in this situation. Okay, so table manners. Wishing bon appetit. Agüeta. This translates as enjoy your meal. I've got something to say about this in a second. It's probably used a little too often in practice and can become annoying. Really? Anyway, at official meals, banquets, when starting the next course, or at the breakfast table, this wish is probably inappropriate. A nod can be enough, don't you think? You know what's funny? I've quite often see these videos on Instagram from maybe the British version of Knigge. It's quite funny. It's this sort of upper class guy who gives funny little videos about British etiquette. And he says that it is improper in British society to say, enjoy your meal. He said, we are British. We don't need to wish somebody to enjoy your meal.
Wow.
You merely start eating. There is no need to wish somebody bon appetit.
Interesting.
Funny, huh?
Then we've got one last example, then we made it through.
Okay, jolly good. So, punctuality, maybe the most important of them all in Switzerland. Right. Hosts expect you to arrive on time. End of.
This is, but I thought I took this out as an example because I thought it's quite interesting for people. This is always a discussion point as well. What time should you be there and so on? And I thought this is a good summary.
It's a funny one. Okay, so if it becomes apparent that you won't be able to keep to the time, it's advisable to make a quick call. Okay, when did they write this book? 5 years ago? No, okay. Anyway, hopefully with a good reason. This is expected if you're going to be more than about 15 minutes late. I find that very liberal in Switzerland. Blimey, 15 minutes late.
No, if you're 10 minutes late, it's fine. 15, you should start to think about calling.
Yeah.
Or writing.
Yeah, okay. Before that, it's not necessary, nor is it expected that you arrive 5 minutes before the agreed time as you would for a business meeting.
There you go.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And as I said, these are just a few quotes out of a quite thick and really good, well-written book, I think. It's also entertaining to read.
It's
not dry at all.
Not dry at all. It's handy. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, how you read it is also how it's written. It is in a slightly ironic, funny way, but gives really good advices, I think.
Sure does. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek in places.
Yeah.
Some is, more on point, and some is like a tiny little bit old-fashioned, but not so much. Yeah. It's pretty good. Absolutely. I mean, you're not going to agree with every point in that book, are you?
No, it's also just...
It's a guide.
Yes, it's a guide, and we will put a link in the show notes to a printed version and also an ebook. And so you can download it or buy it. I think if you download it, as I said, you can translate it automatically, and it's not so bad. If you want the information only, it's good enough. But obviously, maybe it's not so nice to read. I don't know.
So what we should say now, I think, is how people can win a prize.
Go for it.
So what we decided to do was, because we think this book is so great, it is in German.
We maybe have to say we don't earn any money, neither with the links, nor with the book, nor with anything else.
This is not an affiliate whatsoever.
Absolutely not.
But
we are not sponsored. We don't want to be.
No.
We don't. There is no,
There's nothing like that. It's just we bought the book and we thought that somebody might like it.
Yeah. We read it and we don't read. I'm not going to read it again. So
Don't undersell it, though. It's still a prize.
Yeah. So we thought, why not? Maybe someone else wants to have it.
Exactly.
It's a hardcover book.
That's a good one.
Yes.
If nothing else, you can prop your door open with it. No, I'm kidding. So if you would like to take part in our competition...
Or kill the spider.
No, spiders must be set free. If you want to take part in our competition this week, here's what you've got to do. We would like to hear about your embarrassing etiquette situation. If something more embarrassing has happened to you than my handshake mishap, then please tell us about it.
Yeah.
Because we'd like to talk about it on the show, basically. And you can win this book in German. And I think you might enjoy reading it or sharing it with somebody else in your life. Basically.
Absolutely. So what do they have to do exactly?
What they have to do is send us a message. You can send us an email, hello@swissandchips.com. We would love to get an audio message from you. You can go to swissandchips.com and send us a voice message there and tell us about your most embarrassing etiquette mishap that's happened in your life in Switzerland.
Absolutely. And the easiest and simplest way, I think, is if you're on your phone and you're listening now, you should see in the show notes there is a link on the very top which says something like send us your message, and you click on that, it opens an SMS. Is this a thing in English?
A text.
A text message, and then you can just send us an audio message, or also just a text if you don't want to record.
There you go.
And chances are really high that you win, because we won't get more than... Well, we will get hundreds
We'll
of...
see.
We'll see. Everyone will send us messages.
Fantastic.
Good. Then it's time for... Learning Swiss with Swiss and Chips. And the word today is... Well, the words, but the word is as herbschtelet. Okay. Do you know what that means?
Well, I'm going to guess, and I think it might mean that it's becoming autumny.
Exactly, that's what it is.
Yeah, man.
Herbst is autumn, and herbschtelet is,
autumnal.
Yes.
Is the word, autumnal. Actually. It's beginning to look a lot like autumn.
It's beginning to look a lot like...
autumn.
Now... Let's move on to the listener poll.
Oh, yeah.
Last time we asked, which language should you learn first when you move to the Swiss German-speaking part of Switzerland? And it has changed a bit since, because I took it out a few days ago, but it's roughly still the right... Split, yeah. So 20% roughly said just stick to the English.
Ooh.
20% said Swiss German, and 60% said High German.
Okay, interesting result.
I thought it's interesting that basically a fifth says, just stick to English. It's just, not worth it.
I think it depends on what you're going to be doing here, If you're just coming for
a few years.
Yeah, for a year, then...
But then you still would learn High German, wouldn't you? You take the opportunity. Is it too difficult? Because if you would go to France, you would say you learn at least a little bit of French.
Well, I would, but that's me, isn't it? I suppose everyone's different. If you're one of those people who said just stick to English, then let us know why. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Right, so with this herbschtelet message, we wrap up the episode. And I forgot to say, also besides Kathy writing to us, also some people wrote that it was indeed correct. It was Eminem last time. For the people who will remember, many moons ago.
It wasn't that long ago. It was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, like 6. Probably by the time we publish this, it's going to be 8.
Anyway.
My palms are sweaty.
Yes, indeed. We talked about Eminem last time for some reason.
Yes, we did. But we want to say this was a wrap. No.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
For this episode.
See, from Eminem to rap. I have all the good...
You're good at
bridges.
This talking thing.
Yeah, the tension arch.
Yeah. You've got it. And coming up in our next episode, we are going to be talking about...
Oh man, it's just evening at 8:30. It's very late for me.
Absolutely.
I should be in bed.
Yawn. Anyway, coming up in our next episode, we are going to be talking about things that happen only in Switzerland.
Yes, only in Switzerland. Can you give me an example?
Should I give away the main example?
No, give away another example.
Oh my God, I've got a really good one, but I don't know if I can talk about it already.
Go for it.
Crazy signs that people put on their cars, for example. We saw one the other day. I don't know if I can even mention it.
Go for it.
People put up funny little signs. I mean, not even on the cars. I don't think I should maybe mention that. But people write funny little signs, stick them up in windows or at work, for example. I saw one outside someone's office. People don't write a sign, for example, that says, don't smoke here. They write a sign that says, the people inside this office will thank you for using the cigarette tray that we have put outside the door. Thanks so much, and put a funny little face. You know, stuff like that.
Yes, stuff like that we're going to talk about next time. And until then, don't forget to send us your audio message so we can...
Give away a prize.
Give away the prize.
Yippee. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Goodbye.